Welcome everyone, you guys particularly, and then all the folks that are here to hear from you, and then anybody who's watching the recording later on. Thank you for joining us and for being here to learn about Tulsa and then the theme of the conference and or the event and all week. I'm going to be talking about keeping the faith in college. So each day, starting with today, I'm going to give a brief kind of some tips about keeping the faith in college. And then that might take 20 minutes at the most. And then I'll hand it over to the organization, in this case, Tulsa. And then they will present on what's going on there, University of Tulsa. And then whatever time is left, we take questions from those who are here live. So that's basically the pattern for today and for the rest of the week. So let me get us started. So the idea was to talk to everybody, the people here listening, the people watching the recording, presumably students who are looking to make decisions about what college to go to, but perhaps in some cases just parents are here to learn some stuff about colleges on behalf of their students. Maybe their students are at work or school or something. And so I'm going to kind of talk about it from the perspective of the students, but the parents would, you'll just have to kind of transfer this over to yourselves or figure out how to transfer it to your students, your children. So every day I'm going to talk a little bit about something that will be a tool, something to think about to help you leave home and then go off to college and keep the faith. And today I want to talk about habits. I'm going to start out the week with a talk about habits. Now, the way I'm going to talk about it is perhaps a little bit different than people talk about habits traditionally or normally. But one of the things that I'm thinking about when it comes to habits is this idea that you find in the classical, the ancient world, but then also in Christianity through the medieval period until probably the modern era, and this kind of language just kind of dies off and goes away. And the idea that I want to talk about is this idea of that the human being has three ways of desiring or three ways of interacting. One is through the appetites. Our appetites are those things that make us, they're those things that keep us alive. They tell us that we need to eat. They tell us that we need to drink. They tell us that we need to sleep. They tell us that we need to procreate. And so the appetites are good in that they keep us alive. They're bad if and when they begin controlling us. And we live to eat, we live to drink, we live to sleep, we live to procreate. Then the second category or aspect of it is through the passions, anger, sadness, and the passions are activated because what they're pursuing, what they're desiring for you, the human person, is honor, glory, maybe power, and so then what happens is we get angry when we aren't getting the honor that we think we deserve, or if somebody's not getting the honor that we think they deserve. The difficulty is that our passions don't necessarily know actually what is honorable. So sometimes we will do something that's dishonorable, but we'll want to be praised for it, or we'll want glory or credit or honor for it, but we actually didn't do something that's honorable. So there's some training that has to take place there. And then the third way that we interact with the world, and the third kind of thing that we desire, is wisdom, knowledge. And this is the intellect, the mind that desires wisdom and knowledge. So in a disordered way, I could be driven and controlled by my desires if I'm driven and controlled by one or more of these physical things: food, drink, sleep, sex. I could be driven by my passions if I'm constantly angry, as it were, because of a perceived lack of honor. what I ought to be driven by is a desire for wisdom and for knowledge. And if I'm rightly ordered, what happens is wisdom and knowledge tells me what is actually honorable, and then my passions can be geared towards honorable things. So then I can actually have something like righteous indignation, where I'm actually angry for a righteous cause. And then my belly or my appetites are serving that. Like I'm eating and drinking and sleeping so that I can live this virtuous and wise life. Now, ideally, potential future college students, ideally, what's happening in throughout the course of your childhood is your parents are helping you to be ordered. They're helping you to not be driven solely by your appetite for food or drink or sleep, and not to be angry over things that are actually dishonorable, and then to pursue um, wisdom and virtue. Now, that's the role that the parents are playing in the ancient world, in the classical world. This took place at something called the gymnasium, and at the gymnasium there was a guy there, a person there who was the head of the gymnasium, and his title was the sophroniste. It's actually I'm actually saying that wrong because sophroniste is plural, but I can't remember what the singular of that Greek word is. So now I'm messing it up. So the gymnasiums, the gymnasia, plural, had these people over them, and they were sophroniste. Now I can say it in the plural. And that person's job was to train the people in this school, this gymnasium school, to order their souls, to be able to control their appetites and their passions, and to be able to pursue virtue or wisdom and virtue. The sophroniste, his we just think of him as like a gym coach or the coach at the gymnasium, but his name, etymologically, his name literally means the temperance enforcer. So he was enforcing temperance for these students in the gymnasium. Now, what we discover if we continue through this study of these students that in the classical world, what we discover is that it's the chest or the passions, that once the passions know what is honorable and what is dishonorable, it's the passions or the chest, the seat of the passions, the heart that becomes the sophroniste for the person, and then the chest enforces temperance for myself. My chest enforces temperance in me, and this is you can get a hint of this a little bit in C.S. Lewis's book Abolition of Man, in his first essay, Men Without Chests. So it's the chest, as Lewis calls it, but the seat of the passions that is driving the desire for virtue. But when you don't have the chest or your passions trained, ordered properly, the soul ordered properly, what happens is something else is in charge, and it's almost always either your appetites or the disordered passions. And so the gymnastics coach, the sophroniste, became your chest for you. And then he trained you and led you and guided you to become orderly, so that when you became an adult, you could then play that role for yourself. Your chest could play that role for you and become the sophroniste. So in a sense, what they have was an external chest that was building up their internal chest, so that the internal chest could then govern or guide you properly. So now what's going to what can happen is your whole life you're growing up as a child in your home, and your parents are playing the sophroniste for you. They are being the external chest for you, telling you and teaching you what's honorable and dishonorable, what should be pursued as virtuous, what's good. Teaching you to not allow your appetites to control you, and then you're going to leave home and you're going to go off to college. And the idea would be that your chest has been trained up enough that now you can pursue wisdom and virtue without their help. Hopefully that's the case for all of you. but it's not often the case. I don't know majority, minority, if it's the most people or the fewest people or whatever, all that stuff. I don't have research to talk about percentages, but we all know that there are kids that go off to college and they leave college fine, and there are kids that go off to college and they fall off a cliff, and not literally, metaphorically, and they get into awful and bad things. To some extent, this could be because the sophronistae was not built, the internal sophronistae of the chest was not built up enough. So what my advice here then is, if we can think about it in these terms, I go off to you, the student, you go off to college for yourself, and you recognize that there are certain desires that you have that feel normal, but they're really the appetite's trying to take control, or it's an anger not actually driven by the honorable that's trying to rise up and take control of you and push you to give into it. You know, the people who don't exercise, like guilty, people who don't exercise regularly and then they try to start exercising regularly. I have one voice in my head, and that one voice is telling me, stop it, go back to bed. This is not worth it. You're killing yourself. That's my belly. Those are my appetites telling me what to do. And clearly I almost always give in to them. And then every once in a while, there's this little tiny voice. This is my intellect, the wisdom part of me. This little tiny voice that's like, no, but it'll be so good for you because then you'll be healthy and you'll live longer and you'll have more time to spend with your family and you'll blah, blah, blah. And that voice is so tiny and quiet. And the appetites, the belly part of me, right, is this big, loud, booming voice. You know, in the cartoons and stuff, you know, what you see is the devil and the angel on the shoulders, right? You got the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the. This is real. This is the soul is doing this inside of you. I've got my mind telling me the right thing to do and my belly telling me the wrong thing to do, and it's stronger unless the sophronistae has helped me to reorder the soul and strengthened my chest enough. Because what happens is the chest then, this is how Lewis puts it in Abolition of Man, the chest then takes sides with the mind, and together they can overcome the appetites. So when you go off to college and you move away from your sophronistae, your mom or your dad, whoever, you move away from that person, you don't have that sophronistae anymore helping you. You have to be your own sophronistae. You have to tell yourself, I have to do the hard thing. Otherwise my belly's going to win. My appetites are going to win, right? I have to do the hard thing. And the hard thing today is getting out of bed and going to class, or getting out of bed and going to church. The hard thing is going to be, the hard thing is going to be there's two things you have to learn how to do, or that you need to keep doing. You have to make yourself say yes to hard things, getting out of bed, going to church, going to school, whatever it is. And you have to say no to pleasurable things, comfortable things, a second hamburger, a second beer, a second dessert, whatever it is. You have to keep making yourself say yes to hard things and no to comfortable, pleasurable things. That's what you've got to do. Those are the habits that your parents have tried to carry you through off into college with, and you have to pick up that mantle and carry it with you. That's what's going to help you keep the faith in college. Practicing those two things: no to pleasurable, comfortable things, and yes to hard things. That will be those are the habits you need to keep practicing in order to stay on the track. Now, this is seen in the classical and the ancient tradition up through Christianity, through the medieval period, right? This is why historically the church always had something like fasting as part of its calendar. You fast on Fridays, or you fast during Lent, or you fast on Wednesdays, or whatever it is, right? Because that was the way for the church to keep people practicing saying no to hard things, or saying no to the pleasurable things. How can I say no to this person tempting me on Saturday if I couldn't say no to meat on Friday? Right? That's the idea. So if you don't have that, if you have that kind of tradition, if you're coming from that kind of tradition, then keep doing it. Practice fasting, practice exercising as the no to easy, comfortable things and the yes to hard things. If you don't come from a tradition that has that as part of it, and it's not normal for you to practice that, well, then just make yourself say, like, 3 times a week, I'm going to say no to something comfortable and pleasurable, and 3 times a week, I'm going to say yes to something hard or whatever. Set goals for yourself, do something like that, and then help continue the process of getting the soul ordered, or keeping it ordered, as the case may be. And that, I think, will be a huge step in helping you to keep the faith in college. So I'm going to stop there, talk about more stuff tomorrow. And now I would like to introduce our friends from the University of Tulsa. I'll just let you guys introduce yourselves. Go ahead. I'm going to pin you guys, so make sure you stay on screen.
Okay. Thank you so much. Love to hear a good lecture on forming good habits, because that's basically our goal in the Honors College. If you look at our academic seal, which is on almost everything that we have, it says Virtus Sapientia Amicitiae. So that's virtue, wisdom, and friendship. Those are the three goals of education in the Honors College at the University of Tulsa. And of course, a virtue is just a good habit. That's really all a virtue is. You don't need to complicate it. It's just about having good habits. And the thing about a good habit is it's not enough to want it, sadly, or we'd probably all have good habits, at least when it was convenient for us to have them. You actually have to become the sort of person that acts from the habits. That is to say, it takes practice, quite literally practice. And that's why it's bound up with education, right? Because education is really just a kind of practice, which is also a kind of formation. And so what we really believe in the Honors College at the University of Tulsa, and by the way, I'm the dean. I just realized I did not introduce myself, but I am Dr. Jennifer Frey. I am dean of the Honors College. I'm a philosopher. So I always enjoy a good philosophy lecture just to get things going. Very platonic. Love it. Yeah, we sort of our kind of guiding belief in honors is that education is formation. That's just what it is. And there's formal education where you enroll in classes and you get grades and you get a credential at the end of it. And of course, that's the business that we're in. We're also trying to do something much deeper and on a more spiritual level. That is to say, we're trying to form our students into certain kinds of people, namely the good ones, who can go out and be leaders in whatever their respective field is. So the Honors College is different from every other college in that we don't have departments. We don't have majors, except for the one major we have, which Dr. Post will talk about later. We're just mostly about general education. So no matter where you go to college, there's going to be a gen ed curriculum. And the Honors College curriculum kind of approaches that with a certain mission and spirit. And we'll talk about what that is, but it's all geared towards instilling certain virtues in our students, and developing those virtues within a community. So the Honors College is also a residential college on campus. The vast majority of our students live together in a dorm, and in the context of friendship. So that's kind of what we're all about. I think, Dr. Post, do you mind putting up I'm just going to kind of go through our fancy brochure. So hopefully we can share the screen and show you that. And if anyone is interested in receiving this brochure in the mail, we would be very pleased to send it to you, whether you're a parent, a student, or a guidance counselor. Okay, there we go. So that's That's just the cover. That's our seal, by the way, that I just mentioned. And then those are, that's like a sort of ticker tape version of our curriculum. It shows you like, who would you be studying? Or from whom would you learn in the Honors College? And it's people like Dante and Kant and Edmund Burke and Frederick Douglass, etc. So let's flip the page. So this is a picture of McFarland Library, and this is a picture of our main quad. If you are interested in the University of Tulsa, I highly recommend that you come visit us. I was just with a family from a classical school in Wichita for an hour before I hopped on this call, and I can tell you that people are very charmed. We have a very beautiful campus. And this is kind of our main quad with the library in the middle. And if you look just off, you'll see the Honors College to the left. But there's a nice quote here that just sort of captures what we're all about. In the Honors College, we study the liberal arts because they help you discover what you believe is true, good, and beautiful, and to understand why. So I think what's really valuable about studying the great books of Western civilization at the collegiate level, in these seminars, which is what we do at TU, our classes are capped at 15 students, and we all sit around a seminar table and we just discuss the text, is that over time, right, when you're forming these habits by participating in our seminars, you're really forced to think through what your vision of what is true, good, and beautiful is, and to have an account of it. And I know from experience of having this sort of education myself, but also seeing students go through it, is that it truly is transformative for students. And it is a hard thing. You know, our curriculum is not easy. But everyone who undertakes our curriculum does so voluntarily. You certainly do not have to be in the Honors College, but students who come into it by and large stay and re-enroll because it is doing something for them that their other classes are not. So let's go to the next page. So this is just one of our students, Carter. He's fabulous, just talking about how much he loves the Honors College. Let's go to the next page. Right, so this is just a letter from me, again, talking more about what our curriculum is like and why we emphasize the study of classic texts. Um, we do have our students all read the same books. So when I describe our curriculum, I'm like, it's Homer to Hannah Arendt, right? That's basically what you're getting. We send all of our students Homer's Iliad over the summer. We strongly encourage them to read it before they show up, but of course, not everybody does. Um, and it's a chronological approach to the great conversation or the great tradition. So your first class is the three ancient cities, Athens, Rome, Jerusalem. So we read ancient Greek, Roman, and Jewish thinkers. So we do a survey of certain books of the Hebrew Bible, like Genesis and Job and Exodus and things that are probably familiar to you. Um, and then we do the Long Middle Ages, which goes from St. Augustine to the great thinkers of the Reformation, Luther and Calvin. Then we do the birth of modernity. By this point, you're in your sophomore year, you're in your second year of college. Um, and there we begin with Machiavelli, and we get, I believe, all the way to Mary Shelley. And then we just do the 19th and the 20th century, which is when things get very interesting. Um, and of course, that's when you read kind of the founders of the American experience, and then some of the more revolutionary figures that have shaped so much of contemporary society. So people like Nietzsche and Marx, but we also read C.S. Lewis and people like that. James Joyce, we read the modernists, but we get all the way to Hannah Arendt. So solidly into the 20th century. And one thing that I want to emphasize about this learning experience is how active it is. Um, so we do not lecture at our students. Our students are not passive receptacles of information. What we do is we pose questions for our students to discuss together. So it's a very kind of dialogical sort of education. And obviously, if you're not doing the reading, this becomes apparent to everyone because you're not really able to enter into the conversation. But what you do, what you see happening in students over time as they're doing this is that they are growing in confidence, in courage. They are growing in civility because we have a pretty diverse population of students from different backgrounds and different kind of experiences and first principles. And so they're bringing different assumptions to the seminar. And so not everybody has the same understanding of, what's the right way to live. And so we see students gaining in their ability to speak across difference and to do that in a way that's civil and productive. Of course, they grow in studiousness because they have to if they're going to survive this curriculum. And by studiousness, I don't just mean like they study, they were already doing that. I mean that they are tempering that appetite for knowledge, right? So that they're starting to see what is really worth their attention, what is really worth their time. And they're growing in patience and hospitality and other virtues. So again, it really is a kind of formation that you see taking place. And of course, I think a great many of them are growing in wisdom, right? Because they are having to look at the whole in a way that for the vast majority of them, they simply have not been encouraged or really trained to do. And so it's a kind of extensive formation that happens over the space of 2 years if you stick it out for the whole time. And what you also see, and I think this is maybe the most beautiful thing about it, is the friendships that form. And really interesting friendships that you wouldn't predict from people that you would never place together, but they just find, this whole experience like brings them together in interesting ways. So anyway, in my letter from the dean, I just sort of talk about that, why you should do this hard thing, basically. Okay, so let's go to the next page. Um, yeah, so I think here is where on this page it's like links you to a video where some of our students are talking about the curriculum. I truly believe that our greatest selling point is our students. So this is something that I try to do. Like if you actually come to visit us, I try to put you in touch with our students because our students are not only just genuinely impressive people in terms of achievements and accomplishments and all that they're doing, but just their excitement and their enthusiasm uh, for the Honors College, I think is really so much more compelling than anything I could say as dean. So again, I just encourage you to come and meet some of them, or if you're interested, I can put you in touch with some of them because they are also happy to talk to you. I love getting testimonies from students because they say things like, "Thank you for forcing me to do this." Like I would have never read Plato, but like mind blown. Um, so I think they're sort of our greatest testament to what we do. Let's go to the next page. I sort of already talked about this, but we take the very old-fashioned view that education is not just skill acquisition and not just credentialing and networking, but the cultivation of human potential into human excellence. So we're very upfront about the fact that this is an education geared towards virtue, and we're happy to name the virtues that we're working on and that we try to cultivate in our students. And we actively encourage them to think about how, for example, humility, which is one of the virtues that we focus on, plays a role not just in the seminar room, but in their life. So again, it's a sort of delightfully old-timey approach to education that is a bit well, actually, it's a lot countercultural, but proudly so. Next, let's go to the next page here. Um, so on this page, we're really talking about some of the opportunities that you have here in the Honors College. So, honors college students, well, actually at TU generally, we have something called the Tulsa Undergraduate Research Challenge. And this is a program that you can opt into as early as your freshman year, but also in later stages of your career at TU. And this is a chance for students to work directly with faculty on some research project, and they are given money. They're given opportunities to present their research, and of course, they're given access to our exceptional faculty. We also have research opportunities just for honors college students. So I'll just mention one. We're having a pretty big international conference on Boethius this February, non-accidentally because it is the 1500th anniversary of the death of Boethius when he was murdered by Theodoric, the Ostrogoth. Boethius's Consolation of Philosophy is a permanent part of our curriculum. And so we have really big time famous scholars coming in from Cambridge and Boston College. But we're also allowing three of our students to present their own work in front of such an esteemed crowd. And so that's the sort of opportunity, just one opportunity that is only available to honors college students. And this page also emphasizes, and this is really important, that one thing that TU offers, that I think it's really important to stress, is that you can come here and, for example, major in computer science or mechanical engineering. We have very famous departments in both of those fields, and still get a classical education. So I think for a lot of schools, you kind of have to choose between more sort of liberal arts stuff and more STEM focused stuff. At TU, you don't have to choose. The vast majority of our students do both and find the two pursuits very deeply complementary. Okay, next page. Okay, this is just a fun little timeline of, obviously we couldn't put all of our books on here. However, Julie or Matt can drop in the chat a link. We have our entire curriculum online. But this just shows you sort of some of what we're teaching. Um, and, so some of this stuff I think is very familiar. Homer, like an obvious choice, is going to be on every great books curriculum. But maybe some choices are less obvious, like Cervantes, and Christine de Pizan. Um, we read De las Casas, and some other people that we think are just as worthy of canonical attention as some others that are more familiar. Next page. Okay, so this gets to some of our faculty. So you can obviously see me and Dr. Post, but we also have three other faculty in the Honors College. Rich Lizardo is a historian of early modern Spain. Oliver Traldi is a philosopher, and Dan Walden is a classicist. So we have our own faculty within the Honors College, but we also draw on faculty from all over TU. So We have so many more classes than these five people could possibly teach. So we have philosophers and English professors and historians, and including some professors from engineering and computer science and health and natural sciences teaching honors college. So it is a very interdisciplinary experience, which I think is good because, again, the point of the class isn't to create scholarship or Wissenschaft, and we don't teach from a place of theory or expertise. We really just think that these books are life-giving, and it's good to just sit around a table and talk about them together. Um, okay, next. Um, right, so we have this sort of tagline, which I guess it's like slowly coming out. It's learn, grow, belong. Um, so this is just highlighting that honors college students are really explicitly striving to grow in virtue. And one way we do that is through service. So if you go to the next page, it kind of, oh, maybe it doesn't. At some point it gets to our service requirement. Can you keep scrolling? No, now we've got
Sure. So
travel. Can you
this,
keep
yeah, it's the
scrolling?
travel thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Here
Here's
we
the
go,
service part.
service. We can go back. So one thing that's interesting about the Honors College is we're the only college that has service as an academic requirement. In order to graduate from the Honors College, you have to do a minimum of 80 hours of community service. And that sounds like a lot, but if you think about 4 years, which is 8 semesters, it really doesn't, not that much when it's spread out over that amount of time. And we have an advisor for students. You know, you see your academic advisor and you see an honors advisor, but then you also see a service advisor. And that service advisor, just like your academic advisor, gets you in the classes that you need and that reflect like what you want to study. The service advisor connects you to one of over 100 institutional partners with the University of Tulsa to do service that reflects like your specific talents and the things that you care about. So one reason that I mandated a service requirement for my college was that I think this is part of the formative education that I want our students to get. I really want our students to have to reflect on how they can give back. And that's a kind of reflection that, again, you're doing habitually over the 4 years that you're here. And I think that is changing you over time in ways that are very good because it's basically orienting you to the common good and trying to get you to see how you're connected to this thing that's greater than you, but you participate in, which of course is the community. So the service requirement is really important to us. So if you scroll back a page, because I guess I skipped ahead, this page highlights our study abroad. So we are constantly expanding our study abroad offerings. And again, these are only for honors college students. So right now we travel to Rome, and we also travel to Spain. We're looking to expand our offerings in Rome, but we're also looking to get students to Oxford, and also to Greece and Turkey. So those classes are in the works this year, but currently what we offer are trips to Rome and Spain. These are incredibly popular classes, but we offer them every year. So if you don't get into a class one year, there's always you have four summers to get it in there. But you know, this is like an incredible experience because it's a way of kind of living through, I guess, like it's just a very different sort of experience where you sort of see and live the context of the things that you're studying. Okay, so let's keep going ahead. That service. Belong. This is just, again, emphasizing how important forming friendships is to the Honors College and all the ways that we strive to help our students form friendships. Although, of course, they're free people, and a friendship is something that you have to enter into freely. But I can just tell you that some really magical friendships happen in the Honors College. Next slide. Okay, this is talking about the honors dorm. So my office and the office of everyone in the Honors College, which is also the space where our main seminar room is connected to Hardesty Hall. Hardesty Hall is the newest, kind of nicest dorm at TU. It was built in 2015 and it is set aside for Honors College students. So it's not completely full with Honors College students right now, but it's getting closer to that every year. And I'm currently hiring a program officer who will work with the student hall government so that our events are very student involved and student directed. And I'm also currently overseeing the construction of an apartment in Hardesty Hall so that one of our faculty members can live there. And again, the purpose of both of those things is to make more robust the honors community that already exists there, and to make sure that what we do in the seminar and what we do in our student life is really integrated and has the same vision. Next slide. Oh, this is Campbell. We love him so much. This is just one of our graduating seniors talking about how much the Honors College experience meant to him. He's now a PhD student at the University of Florida. He won lots and lots of fabulous awards. Okay, next. Okay, and now I'm going to let Matt take over and just go more into the weeds of our curriculum.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Dean Frey. So, really quickly, as it says here, one college, two tracks. And on the left-hand side, it says the honors core curriculum. And I want to go back to something that Dean Frey kind of emphasized is that for some people, when they're looking at college, they think, do I want to continue in a kind of classical ed 2.0, just doing what I did in high school, but at a more advanced level at university, or do I want to actually pursue a profession? And going back also to something that Dr. Bianco said, a lot of the parents and high school students that I talk to say, look, I got everything I need up until this point, and I just need to pursue a profession. And one of the things that Dean Frey was trying to emphasize is this is a false either or. It's not a choice between pursuing a profession and continuing on in this beautiful seminar style, great books tradition. You can do both, right? And the honors core curriculum is for people who have made their decision. They want to be an engineer, they want to be a doctor, they want to go on in business, but they still want to be doing some of that great engagement with these life-giving texts. So that's what you're going to see with the honors core curriculum. The same thing happens in the humane letters major, which, as Dean Frey said, is the only major offered by the Honors College. One of the big differences between these two programs is that the honors core curriculum is going to have honors courses that are connected to the discipline you're pursuing, the main discipline you're pursuing. So you might have courses dedicated to engineering, honors courses dedicated to engineering, or honors courses dedicated to biology. So to give you a quick example of what we mean by that, if you're in the honors core curriculum, you'll take those 4 courses that Dean Frey spoke about: 3 Ancient Cities, Long Middle Ages, Birth of Modernity, 19th and 20th centuries. And then you might take a special biology course where you're looking at sea phages. And if you don't know what those are, I'm not going to go down that road right now, but it's cutting edge science. This is an entity that is just really starting to become understood here. And as the teacher who teaches it said, you take any kind of sample, you're probably going to be finding new sea phages. But that course will also discuss what is life, what is the meaning, of a living being. So the course will be doing cutting edge science and going into deep questions about that concern how we understand the universe. Okay, so that's the kind of stuff you're looking at in the honors core curriculum. In the humane letters major, as you would expect, the core is actually bigger. If you take a look on the right-hand side, it has those 4 courses and then 2 additional ones: Foundations of Natural Science and Aesthetic and Ethical Foundations of Music. And again, these are emphasizing two elements. Science is so fundamental to the way that we think. So this is to help you go deeper into that. But the aesthetic and ethical foundations of music goes back, as many of you may realize, to the quadrivium and to the fact that music is one of those extraordinarily important arts that gives you objectively real, mathematically describable harmonies in the world, but they're also harmonies that move us deeply as human beings psychologically. There's something about music which connects us to the cosmos, and it forms us at a very, very deep level. So the Humane Letters major is going to go deeper into those questions, and you're going to have a deeper engagement with great texts, and also looking at, particular genres, maybe have a class focused on a particular text like Dante's Commedia, so on and so forth. So that's going to be the major difference between these two tracks. Honors core, you've made your decision for engineering to be a doctor, or Humane Letters major where you just want to go deeper into the tradition. And both of them are going to have the community service requirement, and they're going to have a senior project or thesis. The only other thing I'd say about these things, just thinking about being careful about either ors, and speaking to the kind of experience that people have here, is that another decision people make sometimes when they're coming out of a classical experience and they're thinking about college is, do they want to go to a place where it's almost like a very, very sheltered experience, right? And, as Dr. Bianco was saying, how do I keep my faith in college? Well, maybe one way is if everyone shares the exact same faith and everyone's saying the same thing all the time, maybe that would help. Sometimes college can be a wild west, and that's scary. I want to emphasize that the approach that we take avoids these two extremes. You will encounter people that you disagree with. That's actually a good thing. That's actually healthy for you, particularly as you're growing as an adult. Also, I appreciate Dr. Bianco saying, look, I'm not going to get into the research, but research shows that really important moral development happens during your college years. Of course, it also happens very importantly in high school, and everything that your parents and your church leaders in your community have done is important, but the college years are also extremely important. So in these courses, you will meet people that you disagree with, and you're going to learn to understand their perspective, but also to have the courage of your own convictions. But you're also going to be doing this in an environment in which we are committed to the pursuit of truth and that we can understand something about truth, a profound respect for faith, and as Dean Frey has emphasized, a profound commitment to character formation. Okay. That's it for the curriculum. If there's time for Q&A, I can go into more details.
I have to unmute myself. So Matt, do you mind scrolling down to the scholarship information? Yeah,
Yep.
so Julie Mitchner is going to go through the scholarships that we have available and the application process. And then just, any of us are free to answer any questions.
Hello. Okay, so basically we offer a few different scholarships, kind of campus-wide, but that are particularly of interest to our honors students because there's a lot of overlap in what a student looks like in the honors college and what scholarships, what students kind of look like who are getting these scholarships. So for getting admitted into the honors college, you're going to get a $2,000 per year scholarship toward your tuition. But there are also a couple of other pretty sizable scholarships that students can receive. One of which is our National Merit Semifinalist package. That scholarship is a full ride to TU, to the University of Tulsa. It covers tuition, fees, room, and board. There are a few kind of requirements to receive that scholarship, of course, but that is one that a lot of students are interested in. We also have our presidential scholarship, which is a full tuition scholarship that is competitive. Students apply for that, and we typically award about anywhere between, it kind of varies, but about 8 to 10% of our application pool. So that could be anywhere 30 to 50 students usually. And then we also are offering a few full tuition scholarships for our CLT National Award recipients. So that is also kind of, they apply for the presidential scholarship, and there's also kind of some scholarship funding set aside for those students as well. Regarding the actual application process for the Honors College, you first have to apply to the University of Tulsa proper. So you're going to apply to TU. We accept the common application or an application on our website. And that application is open now. Once you have submitted your application to TU, you will then be able to access our honors application starting October 1st. So our application opens October 1st for the Honors College specifically, and you will have, we'll need an official transcript on file, we'll need the application that you submit, and then it goes through a review process. You have to submit them by February 1st. We review them and get you an admission decision for honors by March 15th. So you kind of see the deadline, the important dates breakdown on that right side of the page. We really implement holistic review for our students. So although our averages for our students coming in are, 4.0 weighted GPA, test scores that are, as listed, students, well, first, we're a test optional school this year, so we do not require test scores for students to be considered for admission. And second, we recognize that a lot of schools have weighted GPAs versus unweighted GPAs. Some schools don't weight, some curriculums don't, or some curricula don't. So we kind of like to let you know that we're looking at you as a whole student. We're looking at your essay answers. We're looking over your transcript and, course selection and whatnot. But we do care quite a bit more about your interest in kind of intellectual inquiry. We want to know that your curiosity for learning. We look at you as a whole person. So that is kind of our admission process. We have an entire committee that reviews applicants. And then you get your decision. You will, as if you accept your spot into the University of Tulsa, then you'll be accepted into honors and we'll be able to go from there. So that's kind of the general process. I'm happy to break down more of that if you have questions, but I'll defer back to Dean Frey at this point.
Okay, yeah. So I think at this point, we're just here to take questions. We probably don't need to share the screen anymore. I think we're good there.
Well, I would like to say, while people are thinking of their questions or typing them out or whatever they might be doing, that I just want to say to everybody else, not to you guys, but you guys will get to hear this, that I've known Dr. Frey for not super long time, but maybe a couple years now. And then I've known Dr. Post for a very long time. And they are two of my favorite people in the whole world. And I've actually had the
Same to you, Matt.
Are you guys actually teaching in the program?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
This is great because I actually got to sit in on a class of Dr. Post's, and it was Thucydides, I believe. He was teaching Thucydides. It might have been Herodotus, but I'm pretty sure it was Thucydides. And
Thucydides, yeah. Good memory.
And it was one of the most amazing experiences that I ever had in a classroom as a student. Like just watching the way you, I don't know, just help them have the discussion, like get the questions out there and then get them to discuss. And you could tell that he had cultivated in those students a high standard for reading closely and thinking through the things really well. And then after that class, I stepped out into the hallways and I actually had a chance to talk to some of the students and the praise that they gave. So any of you students or parents of potential students, like your kids go to TU, then there's two professors right here that are outstanding people. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dr. Bianco. You're awesome, by the way. Everyone knows you're an incredible teacher, so that's a very high compliment. And I can tell you that Dean Frey is even better, as her students will attest. She's amazing.
Mm-mm.
So no, thank you so much.
That's our best teacher.
That's kind.
Um, so I haven't been looking at the chat, sorry. Yeah, so I mean, oh, if a student chooses to pursue the two-year core option, how many classes outside of the honors college does the student take? So that is a great question. And the answer depends on some things that I don't quite control yet. So right now, Matt and I are working on an expanded honors curriculum so that we would have more gen ed classes that are honors. So you can imagine honors thermodynamics and honors organic chemistry and honors calculus too, et cetera. These are classes that students have to take anyway, because these are requirements across a great variety of other majors, or they're part of the gen ed. And so we are currently right now working with curriculum committees on trying to see how many honors sections of these classes that we can offer. So that's a long way of saying I don't know precisely the answer to your question yet. As it stands right now, like if your student had matriculated into honors this year, they were one of the 190, they would just take that 4-semester sequence that we described, and they would do their service requirement, and they would do the honors thesis or project, and that is all that we would require of you. But we're looking to go from basically 15 credit hours to something more like 30. But again, these are classes that students have to take anyway. It's just about offering more of them so that we can keep that same honors pedagogy outside of the honors college.
Yeah, and if I may jump in for a second, thank you, Dean Frey. Yeah, it would potentially be so the number of courses you might take outside of the honors college, but that would contribute to honors, and the core option would be 6, up to 6 could be required and taken that way. Now, as you know, Dean Frey kind of alluded to earlier, the honors program works with every single major. So to kind of also answer Frank D's question, if you're pursuing an honors degree, do you just do 2 years of honors and you're out? If you had a child going into honors, like starting this, next fall, that student, your child would potentially be taking those 6 courses, but they also might have the option to take more than that, right? It's a 6 is what we're looking for, but it could be more. And one of the reasons why they might want to take more is because the honors courses have a lot more value add, smaller class sizes. To Dean Frey's point, we're going to be expanding those offerings over time. I hope that answers your questions.
Can I jump in as well? I know we're at time. But also, Frank, if your student's going into engineering, they're doing a mechanical engineering degree and they're doing the honors curriculum, they will do the honors seminars their first 2 years, and then they will focus or hone in much more precisely on their engineering courses in their upperclassmen years, but they will still need to complete the service component and also do an honors thesis at some point in those second 2 years. So they can still, of course, they're still in the honors college. So they'll get to go to events, do all of the things, have the access throughout all 4 of their years. They just won't be doing seminars in their upperclassmen years necessarily.
Right. And some of our students will kind of skip around a bit. So they might, their whole freshman year, take, ancient city, long Middle Ages, but then in the fall, they might just get too busy or bogged down or whatever. So they don't take any honors classes that year, and then they pick it up their junior year. Like, this is perfectly acceptable. It's maybe not the ideal, but it's perfectly acceptable. The sort of like really high flying student that I was talking about, he actually just like finally picked up his medieval class the final semester of his senior year. because he was just doing so much. And we do have a lot of very ambitious students, and we don't want to stand in the way of their ambitions. We want to be flexible and we want to make things work. So if you can't take the ideal path, it's fine. You might want to come back your junior year over the summer and do study abroad in Rome as a way of fulfilling your honors requirements. And again, that's a perfectly fine thing to do. You just have to fit the 4 courses in at some point. Yeah. Now that's not the norm, but it's a perfectly fine way of doing it. And again, in terms of doing more honors classes, as we expand our offerings, you can do it as a requirement. But of course, if you want to keep doing it, all majors have electives, and you can do it that way too.
Yeah, and answer to that the honors seminar, yeah, there's going to be of those core classes. Typically speaking, a student should be taking one in a semester. And if they're in the core curriculum, they would take one a semester for 2 years, so 4 courses. Or if they're in the humane letters, they would take one a semester for 3 years. So 6 courses. And then, yeah, the rest of their coursework will be filled out if they're in the, oh, that's enough to answer it? Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think in the very rare case, maybe of a late transfer student, we might allow them to do 2 in one semester, but like that would be a conversation because I don't think that's recommended. Because that would just be a lot of reading. So I would need to make sure that this is a student who I was pretty confident could handle that.
Yeah, in terms of
Oh,
athletics, it's not unrealistic at all. We do have a
we
few
have tons of
athletes.
athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I've met some of our student athletes. We're a D1 school, so it's a big commitment at TU to do athletics, because it's just very intensely competitive. But yeah, we've got athletes. I've met volleyball players, and I'm meeting a prospective golf player later this week. Cross country, etc. I think last year we had a football player, but I haven't really checked in on where that is. Um, yeah. So, um, most of our athletes are recruited, because we're D1. And so we work with those folks in athletics. If they're a good candidate for the Honors College, and many of them are, to make sure that they meet with us when they're here being recruited. Other questions? And of course, Julie can just drop her contact information in the chat if you think of a question as soon as the Zoom ends. Feel free to email Julie, who is our Director of Admissions for Honors, and she is more than happy to take your questions. The size of the overall campus, we're right now at about 32 to 3,300 undergrads. This year's incoming class was the second largest class in TU's history. We had 750 incoming freshmen. Of that 750 incoming freshmen, 190 were honors college students. So, just give you a sense of, and I expect us to hover somewhere around an incoming class of about 200 a year. So small for an honors college. Lots of honors colleges have incoming classes of 1,000. So we're on the smaller side, and I think that's great. Um, what do you think, Dr. Bianco? Should we? Um,
Yeah. I mean, it goes till 5:30, but if there's, I don't know, if there's no questions and you guys want to hop off, that's fine. I mean, they've got Julie's email and phone number there if they're here.
I mean,
Or
I'm happy to keep talking. I just don't want you to feel like that you're a captive audience. Um,
no, I'm fine. Yeah, let's keep talking.
yeah.
So, okay, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Dr. Post said that you accept people from all walks of life, right? So the students going there are not going to experience this kind of like cave of just the only people I go to school with are people who think and act and believe everything like I do. And
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Like, yeah, let's put them together and get them thinking and reading together.
Yeah.
Except with one exception. Please tell me you do not accept students who think that Hector is superior to Achilles. I can't.
I don't think we've been screening for that.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Can I take a look at your application process and maybe add some questions to it?
yeah, that's funny. That's hilarious. Hector
Julie's adding it right
superior to
now.
Achilles. I didn't know you were so anti-Hector. So interesting. Um, yeah, no, we're not tracking that. So I can't say. But I
Well,
do
Julie
think
just said
it's,
she's going to add it to the application, so now
yeah,
you.
there you go. There you go. That's how you separate the wheat from the chaff. I, I do think though it's worth like maybe explicitly talking about this because um, often we're compared to Hillsdale, which is great, and Hillsdale is such a great school, and it's not a comparison that I am upset about, but in one very important respect, we are not like Hillsdale at all. I mean, Hillsdale, they have numbers. Students and faculty are overwhelmingly conservative at Hillsdale. It's like 5 to 1. And that is not us. We are not partisan. And in fact, we're not partisan on a university level. So I always brag that we were for institutional neutrality before it was cool, and or mandated by Congress. But we just really want to bring as many people to the seminar table as possible because I think if we don't do that, um, we're not really doing our job. But also, I mean, I am a totally different person than I was when I was 18. It's like night and day. And the thing that explains that is that I started reading philosophy and theology and history and like actually thinking about anything that I thought and realizing that like, well, it was all basically a disaster. And it didn't make any sense and it wasn't coherent. And really, I just needed to rethink things. And I think um, that to me was a way of becoming more free. Right, because whatever you want to say about my beliefs now, like I've thought about them a lot.
Mhm.
And I'm so happy to talk to you about them. And hear your objections. It does not faze me at all that you do not think like me. I don't expect you to think like me. And that doesn't make me less committed to my beliefs. It just means that like I'm used to the fray. And I think really, there was a great books program at Kansas called the Integrated Humanities Program, and it basically got shut down because like it was changing kids too much, to put it mildly. And I still meet all the time people who were products of that program. And to this day, it's such a huge part of the explanation of who they are and what they're doing. And the sorts of transformations that you see in people are just so surprising. it's like you could never predict. Um, and to me, that's what a liberal education really is, right? It's allowing for students to kind of own their own beliefs, you know? And the thing that I realized as a young person was that these things that I was like I was so passionate about the things that I believed, but like I didn't know why.
Mm.
Like I just knew that I was supposed to be passionate about them. Um, and some of those beliefs I still have. It wasn't like a total revision. But it just became integrated into a whole that ended up looking really different. When I entered college, I was a very committed atheist, and I'm not that now. So I just think we want to bring everybody to the table. We don't want to say you can only come if you're like us or if you think like us, because what's the point then? I mean, if you've already got it all figured out, I mean, what's the point? Just go learn a trade. Um, and but the thing is, and this is the thing I think like everyone's forgotten, is that the most formative years of our lives are from 18 to 22. Like
Mhm.
that, like I don't care where you are or what you're doing. That's when you like mostly become you. And it's pretty stable after that, by and large.
Hmm.
And so when I hear people say, oh, well, like I already, I've been formed. I don't need to do that anymore. I can just like learn I can just learn a trade now. It's not true. It just turns out to be false. You will be formed somehow beyond that. And we're just presenting a certain kind of formation and inviting people to do it, like regardless of what their priors are. And I think it's a very, very valuable thing. And we're not a denominational university. We used to be. Historically we were Presbyterian. And there's still lots of remnants of that on campus. We non-accidentally have a Presbyterian chaplain who's the university chaplain. Um, but we have a very vibrant faith life on campus, but it's all sort of individually chosen. So we have a Catholic church on campus, a Methodist church on campus. We have Baptist collegiate ministries. We have Reformed University Fellowship, which is tied to Sharp Chapel, which is like still nominally Presbyterian. We have all kinds of stuff going on. And but then we have students. We're revitalizing Hillel. We're reopening Hillel next Monday for our Jewish students. But we really just we strive to serve everyone. Um, and in the seminar space to treat everyone civilly. That is to say, to see and respect and acknowledge the dignity of their humanity and treat them accordingly. So that's very important to us, but we just don't shy away from disagreement. What we try to do is take that disagreement and make it productive, so that it helps the student better understand where they're coming from. Like we know that they're not all going to agree and it's fine. But we want them to better understand themselves in a way, like the goal is self-knowledge. And that means that I might not agree with them, right? And sometimes I'm like, yeah, sometimes I don't, right? Um, but it's about getting them to see where the pressure points are and what might be an objection to that way of thinking things. And also just like getting them to get real. Like with some of these kids, um, they've just got a bunch of slogans rattling around in their heads. It's like ping pong balls, and that's all that it is. And just get them like away from just a slogan to get them to actually think. That's in and of itself a victory for lots of them because all they have are slogans and they're not even sure why, right? And maybe their slogan is good. Like maybe I like the slogan, maybe I don't. But the point is that it's just a slogan. Like a slogan's not gonna get you through the dark night of the soul. Like you gotta have something more than that.
Right. I like that. I liked that quotation in the brochure about I didn't memorize it, but it was something about, helping them to recognize that what they believe is true, good, and beautiful, and to know the reason why.
Yeah. You gotta
That's
have the logos. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what we're aiming to help them do. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and
like
I'd add
I
this
get
too.
your 9-year-old
Oh,
doesn't necessarily need to know why something is beautiful, just that it is, But then at some point, right, then you want to know what's true, good, and beautiful, and know why. This is the
Yeah.
right time.
Yeah.
well, something else, if I may throw this in here, and I appreciate what you said, Dr. Bianco, at the beginning about the pleasant versus the hard. And, and as you know, because you're such a great and seasoned teacher yourself, like teaching is hard. And in my experience, no one has ever lost their faith over a sincere inquiry. Um, someone of faith doesn't need to fear questions, or coming together and having a discussion or a debate. But there are situations in which inquiry is not conducted in a true spirit of inquiry, right? It only has that appearance. Or there can be an agenda or something like that. And one thing that Dean Frey has really been emphasizing is we come together in a true spirit of inquiry. And that means that we trust each other. We think that it's possible to learn truth by talking to each other and thinking things through argumentatively, and also by engaging deeply with literary works and scientific works, so on and so forth. And when you bring these things together, when you think about it, what does it mean to be together in a room and you trust other people and you think that you can find the truth together? I mean, even just those little presuppositions, cultivating those things is already building the grounds of community. And at some point, you have to kind of ask yourself, how is it possible? Why do I trust this person? How is it possible that by talking to them and reflecting upon my experience, I actually do arrive at things that are true? And I don't want to ruin the ending. I think you guys know the ending, but you start to realize that there is something that transcends us and we have an encounter with it. But if you just tell that to students, it's not going to take hold, right? It's something that they need to go through it themselves. And when they find it for themselves, it comes back to what Dean Frey was saying. It's like something that becomes really transformational.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
let's see here. We got a question.
I see a question in the chat about whether this is Christ-centered education. So the answer to that is no, it is not. That is why I said, historically we had a religious affiliation and now, I mean, we don't. Like it used to be the case that a quarter of the board of trustees had to be Presbyterian. It was like written into the charter of the university, and that is no longer the case. We do have a largely Christian population. We're in eastern Oklahoma. We're in the part of the country where that is demographically kind of what you expect. And we have very, very many vibrant faith communities on campus. I mean, we have 5 or 6 churches on campus, not near campus, they are on campus. And we have a Christian fraternity, which is non-denominational. I just saw 3 honors students. One was a Catholic, one was Reformed, and I think one was Baptist, like all get initiated into this fraternity. But no, we are not Christ-centered in the way that, I don't know, a Baylor Honors College is, although certainly plenty of Baylor students are secular. But we are, we just don't have that historic affiliation anymore. However, like matriculation begins with prayer, graduate commencement ends in prayer. I mean, it's still there, but it's not foregrounded in the way that maybe it was decades ago. Do faculty members have religious affiliation? Sure. Absolutely. I'm Catholic. You could pull, you could pull our faculty, and there would be a diversity of religious affiliations there. But we don't, um, I mean, so for example, um, I do a lot of work on Aquinas, maybe not surprisingly. And so when it comes to teach Aquinas in the curriculum, like, I've thought about it a lot. Like I'm ready to talk about it. But I'm not like that, I'm not a partisan. I'm not a partisan to any of it because again, the goal is for people to learn from Aquinas, not me. I'm like a midwife, really, uh, just helping these kids give birth to beauty. I try not to put too much of myself in it. Now, students will come to me and want to talk to me about my faith, and I'm perfectly happy to talk to them about my faith, or just like I'm perfectly happy to talk to anyone about my faith publicly or privately. You could Google me right now and find me talking about my faith on TV, or in the newspaper, but I strive to not put too much of myself into the classroom because it's just not what I'm trying to do. It's not about me. Um, I hope that helps answer your question. I'm happy to have a follow-up. Um, but we have Jewish students, we have Muslim students, we have majority Christian students, but we also have students who just like have no idea, right? If you ask them, they would be like, I don't really know. And they don't. They're still trying to figure it all out. Um,
Although certainly because Christendom has been so profoundly formative uh, on, as we might say, the West, we do, of course, read plenty of Christian texts
oh,
from the
yeah.
Middle
I mean,
Ages and also the Reformation.
the majority of our curriculum is Christian because it's Western. No doubt about it. We also read Marx because, right, you can't understand what's going on right now unless you've read him. Um, oh, do you have data on what graduates of the Honors College do after graduation? Yes, we do. It's limited because we've existed for 1 year. But we do have that data. Or we're still in the process of gathering it. Um, it's all self-reported. So, um, like how many of our students reported what they were doing is an interesting question. And also, um, you have to keep in mind that we inherited an honors program. So our graduating seniors didn't have anything to do with us except for their senior year. Um, so really, if you want to look at true graduates of this honors college, you need to wait 3 more years to see what they're up to. But certainly, we have lots of data on what students at TU are doing. And it's a healthy mix of going to grad school, or they have a job. I mean, I think it's like 99% of our students are in one of those two places. Yeah, we
One
have,
quick thing I would, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say it to you, we have like really good retention rates and we have amazing placement. So our students do well after having come here.
Yeah, I just add quickly, there is research looking at the benefits of doing, a deep liberal arts breakbook seminar style education, whether you're in tech or in a medical field, or going into business. And so, for example, the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine have found that people that do this just end up flourishing in a much greater way in their careers. And it's kind of funny reading the reports because they're like, we have no idea why. It's a complete mystery, but there seems to be something magical about this kind of education. One of the things, though, is that, as you know, the education is disappearing in higher ed. And some of the data showing its great benefit kind of goes back 10 years. So there's just immense career benefits over time. So, and that's why we need to hang on to it but I mean, the real reason to hang on to it is actually what Dr. Bianco and Dean Frey have been saying, is that it actually does have material benefits. People who do this end up being leaders in their field. They're people that make great discoveries, but the real reason to do it is because it just enriches your life so deeply, right? And you become the
Yeah.
kind of person whose free time isn't just taken up watching TV. You might do it on occasion, but that's not what you live for. You really understand that you have a vocation that's higher than that. And the true, the beautiful, and the good is something that you should allow to animate everything in your life. And that's where the real worth of this education becomes clear. But it also has material gains too.
Yeah, I also think like just getting back to the diversity of our student population, I think it's really, really good for students to confront, quote unquote, the enemy and realize that like they're actually just other human beings, like trying to figure out the same stuff and have the same problems and somebody worth talking to. And so for students who think, that religious people are all stupid, right? Well, they find out that's not true. And for very religious students who think that students who aren't religious must be evil, they learn that that's also not true. And so it's about kind of broadening your perspective and also just kind of, I mean, and they take that into the world, right? Where in the world you got to deal with everybody. And so if you've been learning to really deal with everybody, not just in that everyday, like I'm sending you an email sort of way, but I'm actually talking about God and the cosmos and like whether my life has any meaning. It's like a different way of dealing with someone. I think that has just a really deep impact in the way that they go forward in life. I see that there's a question about, dropping honors. So people, we have really high rates of retention, but we don't keep everybody. Some kids look at the syllabus once they get here and run for the hills, right? They're just like, oh my gosh, I can't read that much. Sometimes you can, sorry, my AirPods just died. Sometimes you can talk those students into everything, but some of them you just can't. And honestly, like, it's fine. It's probably not the program for you.
We lost your audio. Can you hear her?
Oh, no, it's gone completely. Hey, Jen, we can't hear you right now.
Well, sorry.
Did you put your AirPods back into the case?
Thanks, Debbie. Can't hear you.
Right. Jen, did you put your AirPods back in the case? Oh, okay. It's done. Can you hear me okay, Matt?
I hear you fine, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear us, Jen?
I wonder if what happened if she put them down and the audio is still going through them.
Right. But they're
So she's not hearing us because it's still going through the AirPods, and we're not hearing her because the AirPod mic is trying to pick her up, but it's not picking her up well.
Huh.
Because she has a Mac. I mean, that thing is just fine. Yeah, okay. I think her thing is still connected to the AirPods. But I mean, we're pretty much at time now, right, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions at this point? Oh, looks like not.
Looks like it's down to mostly just us now. So
Yeah.
well, there's a couple people left, Frank and Kathy. You guys have any questions? Yeah, she was in the middle of answering Frank's question. That's right.
Yeah, can I speak to that a little bit? Just
Yes, Julie, I'm saying no to I'm shaking
yes.
my head no to Jen.
Just to follow up with Frank's question, I think what Jen is getting at is for some students, they find out it's not a good fit after they get into it. And really there isn't really too much of a consequence as long as they figure it out before the withdraw deadline. So, most students stay and really enjoy their time. But for some students, really, you just need to know by those deadlines set by the university without getting penalized on your transcript. But that's the case across the board. So you definitely have some time when you're in the class before that becomes, necessary for you to make that decision. Yes.
I guess I'm going to expand his question maybe beyond
Sure.
what he. But so if you did like say 3 semesters of the honors college courses and then decided you didn't want the honors college, the that stuff,
If
you
you
just
didn't,
wanted to go to a traditional major, does
yeah.
that like they just transfer
Well,
into the electives or something?
you
Or
would, yeah. So you would lose your scholarship for honors, the $2,000 a year. So that's one component. But then you also would no longer get the credential of graduating with honors if you don't complete the program. Um, but students who are doing the honors curriculum and they're majoring in whatever else they're going to do at TU, TU does not require you to apply to the specific college. If you're admitted into the university, you're admitted to any program. So that's kind of a plus, with the exception of honors. So that's kind of a plus is if you decide to step back and just do, your management major, your psychology major, whatever that is, then there isn't too much of a stressor for ramifications there.
Can people hear me now?
Yes.
I think it switched. I don't know what's really happening there. There's really only, so like I said, people drop at various points for various reasons. Some people just pause, right? Like they'll sort of take a year off and pick it back up. But the only consequence of dropping is just that like you don't graduate from honors. Now, if you were here on the $2,000 scholarship, you will lose that. So, I mean, that's a material consequence. But other than that, I mean, it's just, there's really no consequence. You just don't, you don't graduate from honors. And for some students, there are just a variety of reasons why they don't finish things. But again, we do have really high rates of retention. So it's just not like a huge problem.
Yeah.
Sorry about my AirPods dying. Don't know what that was about.
No worries.
But it looks like we've lost almost everyone. So for whoever's left, did you have any? I feel like my AirPods dying just had this catastrophic effect. Does anybody else have any questions? Yeah, so Julie's email is in the chat, and all of our contact information is on our website. If you just Google Tulsa Honors College, we're going to be the first hit. And I do encourage you to go to our website and sort of scroll around. We do have our curriculum up there, and just kind of very robust. And again, if you would like to be on our mailing list, we'd be happy to send you our fancy brochure and possibly schedule a visit out here to Tulsa. Sound good?
Yeah, thank you all. Appreciate it. Yeah. And thanks so much, Dr. Bianco. Really, really appreciate your opening comments and just everything you've done for us here. You've been wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Love you guys.
Yeah, thanks for giving us the platform to talk about what we do. Very grateful.
Yeah. I'm excited, and I hope that keeps growing because what you guys are doing out there is special. I mean, we took that sailing boat ride together, and I'm pretty sure everything we talked about we disagreed, and yet you were so friendly and hospitable to me the whole way through.
Hospitality is one of our virtues. We welcome everyone to the seminar table.
And then good teachers there and good curriculum, and I love two things that I love, especially that you said. The service component being required, like just living it out is beautiful. And that you're working on courses that would be an honors format, but for them to take into their other
Yeah.
whatever their major is, that's
Yeah.
good. I love that. So keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, take care, everyone. Thank
Guys.
you.
All right, take care. Take care. God bless.